Now, this is one you don't see very, in its complete extent in an articulated skull, so it looks unusual. Okay, I'll wait one moment. Try to get in here on time. The attendance sheet is already circulating. And as soon as you put your stuff down, come up to the front. Okay, and I also want to say this. Last night I discovered that I have one headlight in my car burned out. I don't want to drive home with only one headlight because it might convert to no headlights since they're both the same age, at any time. So I want to, and I have an evening class, so I want to get the lab shut down, almost immediately, at 3:50 I'll ask for a little help to put things away. So that I can rush off to the dealer and have them
We don't mind
replace
if
my...
you leave a little bit early.
No, we won't do that, though. I'll have enough time if I can get out of here by, 4 o'clock or something like that to go to the dealer and then come back for my evening class. They tell me it's only going to take a half hour, but I want to make sure about that. Okay, so the vomer. This is the vomer. Vomer means plow in Latin. Because it reminded an early anatomist of the kind of plow blade, which in earlier times, in fact, it still is used in the low technology world, drawn by a team of oxen, a plow blade. And this is makes a good portion, a substantial portion of the bony nasal septum. Now, what's this again?
Sphenoid.
The sphenoid. What is this downward projection of the sphenoid? Over here.
Can't see it.
Its name begins with an R.
No, it's
Rostrum.
Rostrum. Rostrum is correct. Now, observe this slot in the vomer.
articulate.
Yeah, that's right. See this slot?
Is that a phosphor or?
No. It's a groove. It's a sulcus. See this slot? Now, the rostrum goes into it in a kind of joint called the scindylesis. That's spelled S-C-H-I-N-D-Y-L-E-S-I-S. So here's the S-C-H-I-N-D-Y-L-E-S-E-S. And the C-H is pronounced as a K, as in ischemia.
What is that?
That is a tongue in groove joint. The rostrum is the tongue, and that slot, that sulcus, in the vomer is the groove. So the rostrum, the sphenoid goes on right over here like this, and the rostrum goes into that groove. You see that? The rostrum goes into that slot in the vomer, like that. It shows it inverted, and I'm going to do this carefully. Oops.
Oh.
Let me just put that back.
Careful.
Yeah, the rostrum sticks, it goes into that groove in the bone. You see, now this can be tilted significantly. That's a strong joint, even without the connective tissue associated with it. You have to tilt it very substantially before that falls off. Okay, and then this, the vomer plus the perpendicular plate of the ethmoid bone make the bony nasal septum, which is directly behind this, and here, this cartilage. That's the cartilaginous nasal septum. That's not present in the dry state. And right behind that's the bony nasal septum. Okay? Now, try to be careful about leaning on that because it's not all that strong. Okay, so be sure you can recognize the bone. You should know what kind of joint that is.
So that's the name of the joint, the scindylesis.
That's right. That's a category of joint. All of the scindyleses in the skull involve the vomer. Vomer with sphenoid, vomer with ethmoid, vomer with maxilla. The maxillary is a vomer with the palatine. See, down below the vomer, at the intermaxillary suture, the two maxillary bones are involved in a plane full suture. That's plane spelled as in P-L-A-N-E, P-L-A-I-N. And then they come together in the intermaxillary suture, not like this, but like that. So when they're articulated, you see there's a groove. on the superior side of the palatal processes of the maxillary, and the vomer goes into that. Okay. So that's the vomer. And then, once again, what is that? That's right, the lacrimal. Just note down, the lacrimal is just a flat plate, no bend in it. This is the lateral surface of the lacrimal, and there's a groove in it, right over there, a sulcus. That's called the nasolacrimal sulcus, and part of the nasolacrimal duct for the drainage of tears into the nasal cavity.
Is it on both sides?
Goes in there. No, this groove is only in the lateral aspect.
Okay.
This is, the side with the groove is the lateral aspect. The exact shape of the lacrimal varies depending upon the individual skull. Okay.
I'm sorry, what was the actual nasolacrimal sulcus for?
The nasolacrimal duct, which drains tears from the conjunctival space. The way they go normally when they're not overflowing is into the nasal cavity. Okay. And then once again, remember that some people say, how am I supposed to be able to identify that? But, what are you going to get it confused with? Could it be the frontal bone? Could it be the mandible? So there's a principle in logic. If you ever get around to taking a course in symbolic logic, one of the simple things that is learned early on is what's called the exclusionary principle. When thinking about what something is or about a relationship,
As long as you don't have any more little pieces
yeah,
of bone.
we don't have enough data to say conclusively what something is. First, eliminate those things which are impossible. It's called the exclusionary principle. And then what remains will include the truth. So when it comes to this, you can exclude just about every bone in the skull, It narrows it down to just one or two things.